Wow, look guys, we're at Lake Michigan. Man, it sure is warmer than back in Antarctica, and the fish are way better. But that's off topic. Today, I'm going to tell you all about places and cultures around the world, just like this one. Anyways, the Great Lakes are really cool because they span all the way across the US and Canada. Since they're so massive, they provide really fast movement and training between these two countries. Alright. So now let's waddle on over to the Rocky Mountains. Well, you thought the Great Lakes were massive. These are even massiver. You know why? Because they're mountains. These puppies provide tons of mining of a gajillion different things and provide lots of jobs and really help boost the economies of the places all around them. They also provide a huge cultural barrier which makes the Midwest so much different than the West. I mean, would you just look at California? Disgusting. Now, if you didn't already get it, economy is huge in America, so it makes sense that there are many multinational corporations which provide jobs to US peeps all over the world. And last of all, the US thrive on conflict. Kinda messed up, but because of many major wars and things like the Great Depression, we have risen to be a world power. Poof, bam, we're in Latin America. So, apparently, we're in the Andes Mountains, which, let me tell you, provide tons of mining and allow for a very rich industry. Very similar to the Rocky Mountains we talked about, right before. And if we go just a long ways away, we also get to the Amazon River, which also allows for large industry, but in a totally different way. You see, this provides tourist attractions for fat Americans and food for the locals, which is a pretty good way to make money in my opinion. But as fun as all this is, there are still some major problems like slash and burn farming. Farmers cut down large areas of the forest and burn all the remaining plants, then just use land for one crop that barely sustains them, and then they just move on. It's very sad, Kanye. Alright, moving past that bad meme reference, we can see a rich history in the people and the cultures around here. Many carry customs and traditions of ancient tribes and people who used to live here and actually influence greatly the way people across the world live today. Alright, what up, G's? Now we're in Europe. Honestly, there's just a lot of stuff here, and one of the cool ones is the Mediterranean Sea. The sea has always been a major trade highway throughout history and has allowed the spread of cultures and ideas along with materials and technology. Alright, bam, now we're in the Alps, which is like these crazy big mountains. Unlike the other mountains, the Alps actually provide tons of tourist attractions, you guessed it, help sustain the economy. Now that we have the actual stuff you can touch out of the way, we got the cultural stuff, and let me tell you that this is a very diverse one because there are so many different small countries along with the cultural crossroads in the east. You basically have the whole world here. Then, sadly, our last thing, we find out that 3/4 of people live in cities. That's a lot, so this means that many foods are imported due to the lower amount of farmers in the area. But this does help farmers if you have those weird people who will pay a ton just to eat local food. Alright, now we in Putin land and other people land, but mainly Putin land. So if you want to be a strong military force, you basically got to control right here in the Black Sea, because then you have access to everywhere and you can nuke everywhere with Care Bears. Next, we got the Ural Mountains. Now these things, well, let me tell you, they totally separated people for the longest time and made them have totally different cultures. But they were opened up by a train track that allowed the spread of these cultures and resources. But these cultures haven't always been great. Look at that smooth segue right there. Because they used to be commies. And that has had a lasting impact because after a government that controlled every aspect of life, they were dumped to go on their own and figure things out for themselves. Not good. But you know what? They still have old cities with really cool architecture that give us insights into life hundreds of years ago. Alright, so Africa, as you know, is very dry, largely in part to things like, the Sahara Desert. This makes it really hard for people to farm, survive, and even just get simple things like water. This on its own is terrible, but because these were all once colonized by other countries, they were just dumped on their own with no good government in place, and they were left to fend for themselves. All of this just compounds to cause major health problems like we see across the continent. People are unable to provide basic care because they are too poor and die just from simple diseases. But there's hope. Places like the Nile River provide water, farming, and money, allowing people to overcome these challenges when things do go right. Alright, man. We were just talking about a river. Now we are going to talk about two. Bam. Didn't see that coming, did ya? Well, these rivers are the Tigris and Euphrates, and they have provided farming and transport to even the earliest of civilizations, which is honestly pretty cool. Now we can also see how much a coast and access to water and trade really does. The Arabian Peninsula is almost entirely surrounded by water and gives us the most developed area in Southwest Asia, with places like Dubai that seem to be like from the future. But it isn't all great, as religious tensions cause constant war, just taking innocent lives. These religions fight because of dynasties and major world powers who used to govern this whole land, and they made certain religions very large and in the same regions. Alright, I know you're probably bored, but we are finally to the end. In mainland Asia, we have some pretty cool stuff, like the Ring of Fire. Although it sounds cool and the area is pretty, uh, many natural disasters happen in this area, causing many people to lose homes and jobs. But the Ring of Fire is also by the Pacific Ocean, which does provide fishing and help with trade, boosting the economy in the area greatly. Although this all seems pretty cool, 4 out of the 5 communist countries are in the area, which is really awful. Many basic human rights are taken from these people, but these regimes are slowly loosening their grips, which is very good. Speaking of good things, many people who have been previously poverty stricken are now able to start their own businesses due to microloans. These help people get on their feet and see how the real world works when you do have money. Woo. Now we are through the world. Goodbye. Yeet self across the screen.